few days ago, Thomas Hod put up a post regarding the CBC Poetry Contest. Now, it gives a long list of 33 poets who have made the long list round. And Hod started off the conversation by remarking that there didn't seem to be anybody from the East Coast. But in the comments thread below, the conversation soon segued into a discussion of gender. And Shane Nielsen, also a poet, remarked, this is in terms of Shane Nielsen is from the East Coast, quote, "I'd have to look closely." And then Nielsen continues, "What's immediately jumping out at me is the heavy skew of female presenting faces. It's really striking, what with the very high number of shortlistees. I know many of the poets on this list and even love some of their work, but what happened? Is this statistically probable?" End of quote. Now, by my count, there are 29 out of 33 who are female. And the discussion on in the thread continues with people really trying to emphasize that they're not upset about this, but they're noticing it. However, it's impossible not to notice as well a certain degree of anxiety on the part of the male writers. And of course, there's a female writer who remarks that it used to be a gender balance that worked the other way in favor of men. Now, all this got me to thinking about a remark that was made recently by the writer John McFetridge about how publishing works, literary publishing. And apparently one rule of thumb that publishers use these days is that it is women between the ages of 30 and 65 who buy books. And they are the target market now for books. I'm assuming this is for literary fiction. I know at least 2, possibly 3 people involved in publishing, male, who focus exclusively on nonfiction. So there does seem to be sort of a division that's happening along gender lines in terms of fiction and nonfiction. But in any event, anecdotally, I've noticed that even though I read, and I know many men who read, it is the female acquaintances I have who do the most book buying. For example, in our household, I buy books, but they are very frequently secondhand books. I buy a lot of history, big fat history books. And they're very expensive, brand new. So if I can pick one up secondhand, I will. Sugi, on the other hand, buys at least 3 books a month, I'd say, maybe more. And she buys new books. She goes down to one of the big bookstores in Samsung-dong or Gwangwon and picks up these books. Now, Korean books tend to be priced a little more reasonably, in my opinion, than books sold in Canada. Nevertheless, even so, she is a very supportive book buyer in terms of what's produced by the Korean publishing industry. And if it is the case that women are becoming the hegemonic dominant audience for literary books, that raises several questions which I think need to be discussed. Traditionally, of course, in the arts, male hegemony was the case, and that is what one of the commentators in Thomas Hod's thread, Alison Atkinson, is referring back to. So I suppose that from point of view of a lot of female writers, it used to be the time of men, and now it's only fair that it's the time of women. But I think as well that there's something going on that relates to media. For example, I make a lot of film. I make a lot of video poems and so forth. And in that world, even though it is also a literary world, the gender divisions are quite different, or rather the gender balances, I should say. And of course, in feature filmmaking, in movie making for drama and so forth, it's a notoriously, now this is, these dramas, the point that I'm trying to underline is these dramas are also works of fiction. but in movie form. This is a notoriously male-dominated field in which female directors complain quite frequently about the degree to which it is hard for female filmmakers to sort of break in or get equal amounts of attention. All these things are sort of going on at once, and to sort of circle back to the whole issue of Canadian letters and literary publishing within Canada, I have noticed thematically that, for example, with a 1,000-page manuscript, a social novel about contemporary Canada, and with another novel manuscript set during World War II about soldiers fighting in World War II, that there is blanket, what seems to me almost blanket disinterest in these themes in Canadian publishing, and for want of a better word, I mean these are sort of somewhat masculine themes. So, what exactly is going on here right now in CanLit at the present moment in terms of gender balance and the way publishers view the situation? I think that's a discussion worth having.